Azerbaijan, of course, being a modern and developed country, is inextricably linked to oil production, but the country is a regional leader also in terms of application. $1 million, and we provide 1.5 billion kilowatt hour energy a year, and will reduce 200,000 tons of carbon emission. This itself is a tangible achievement just we received last year. And we are going to launch also solar power plants with a capacity of 200.
And trying to portray the positive image of Pakistan, trying to highlight our issues and finding out the solution with the new global partners. So over to you, Bilal.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And well, I mean, we hardly came out of the exhaustingness which you just mentioned of COP28, and now we are thinking and actively thinking about COP29 in Azerbaijan. So that's how the time flies, and I'm sure that this year is going to be equally rapidly passing, and then very soon we're kind of preparing ourselves for the COP29. No, thank you very much, and thank you for acknowledging the efforts which NDRMF in collaboration with the Ministry of Climate Change and several other partners were actually undertaking, and we just try to put up kind of Pakistan's narrative out there, and facilitated the cooperation and collaboration with the global community and other kind of the right-minded countries, as well as the right-minded individuals, which is always quite a kind of a beneficial when you are in a COP setup, and to meet and greet and then establish and foster that collaborations and partnerships. So this is all what we did. And I think one kind of additional or kind of innovative thing which we did in the COP28 was we tried to include all the participants from the country as well who were not able to travel to UAE. So we set up a dedicated website with Ministry of Climate Change, and that website actually very quickly evolved to become the knowledge hub and the information source for many stakeholders back home here as well. At the same time, we are streamlining and broadcasting all the events and some of the other kind of activities which are going around in the COP28 venue, and that has been quite much appreciated, and I think we will very strongly encourage the Ministry of Climate Change to kind of continue with this practice, even make it better, and have a more element of inclusivity and participation and a dialogue and a partnership. So I think that's so. In a way, this is kind of a good kind of an experience and a good tradition which has been set. As they said, that a good tradition should be taken forward. They should be protected and defined over the period of time. I'm sure that this is going to be happening. Now, I think just a little bit of a reflection from what kind of what has been achieved in COP28. I think there's kind of a lot of discussions which are happening at the national level for quite some time, as well as I've heard the resonance of those discussions here in Pakistan, in Islamabad, in the last few days at least, that how effective, how fruitful the COP process is, whether the COPs have actually been able to produce any tangible results, if the emissions are going down, if the adaptation approaches are strengthening, if the financing is flowing around, if the policy is being religiously implemented, if the monitoring, evaluation, reporting formats have improved over the time, has the science been a lot more recognized or not, has the kind of gaps between the science and the policy being rectified? A lot of questions. I can really go on and on and on. And I think it depends really how you want to see it. There is no right or wrong answer to these questions, but I think a kind of an honest evaluation of it might not be such a bad idea. I've attended a lot of COPs actually. I professionally grew up myself in COPs. If my counting is correct, I think that was my 21st. And so I started going back in 1999. That was my first COP. And I have seen the evolution of COP back then, and then how kind of a global gala they have become. So they are kind of a less of a kind of a policy making instrument or mechanism, and they have become quite a kind of a global affair of kind of a celebrity gathering and social networks, and which is nothing wrong about it. I think it's good. So I always kind of value COPs that over a period of two weeks, a very targeted group of audience is found under one roof, and so that's a great kind of strength of COP, which is almost, but it's impossible to kind of find that kind of environment. So a lot can be achieved. I have over the period actually have seen the number of countries actually achieving a lot during the COPs, both at the policy arena in terms of having their interests, the group of countries having their interests really incorporated, secured through the policy making process, the decisions and the texts which are coming out, and at the same time kind of building the partnerships and getting their own narrative and their own messages out, and similarly achieving some big results. We have seen in Sharm el-Sheikh, Pakistan played a very effective and important role, and the result was the establishment of the loss and damage fund, and in this COP actually that fund was fully operationalized as well. So I think it's always a good opportunity, and a lot can be achieved. So with that background, COP28, I think that many people actually, it's a kind of a mixed feeling. It has achieved some of the very key kind of decisions, and operationalization and the launching of the loss and damage fund being the most prominent and kind of featured outcome of COP, and similarly on adaptation, on financing, a number of other areas, a number of kind of the policy has really moved forward, and which of course is going to be seen, is going to be evaluated, and we're going to see that every country is going to see that what kind of obligations and what kind of national priorities which we have to set against international policy which has been established during the COP in the UAE. So I think the one other is kind of a highlighted which might not have really gathered or gained that kind of a media attention even internationally. That is the decision, and quite a detailed and comprehensive decision coming out of the global stock taking process. So and before that there was this synthesis report which UNFCCC Secretariat released for the global stock taking, which basically showed a number of key messages in that report. But it basically shows that with the emission levels which are going right now, we are actually very likely, highly likely, we are going to be passing the tipping points, and those the kind of dangerous tipping points which are going to be resulting into the climate change, irreversible climate change impact, and then adverse kind of implications for the countries like Pakistan. And so the decision came out, and which basically sets very clear targets. But again, I think that there is a follow-up need to be done, and then how UNFCCC process is going to be following up in terms of raising the ambition level, as well as making sure that the emissions are going down in the years which are to come forward. So I think and similarly few other decisions which are important. I think one of the disappointment was that there was no decision, or no kind of a conclusive decision on Article 6, which is about the carbon markets, and there's a lot of kind of excitement about carbon markets, not only in Pakistan but in the rest of the world as well. So we are actually left with this kind of a limbo, or kind of not clarity that what kind of national kind of policy frameworks or the guidelines or the policy infrastructure need to be established, which is going to be aligned with international policy frameworks. I think that is still hasn't been done, and the COP hasn't delivered what it was supposed to be delivered. So I think what commentators are saying is this is a very kind of a mixed kind of a COP. In terms of its outcome. But then I think it would be really kind of injustice if I don't mention that the very first time in the history of not only the history of the COPs, but in history of international diplomacy, we have seen that there is now a commitment for phasing out of fossil fuels and or transitioning out of the fossil fuel. That's the exact language. So that again is a very big outcome, and which of course is going to be a very kind of minutely and credibly monitor that what kind of policy action is going to be followed out of it. So a number of very good outcomes, a number of miss outs which actually happens during every COP. So it's a political process, it's always negotiations, it's always give and take. So this is the result of it. But I think many people are disappointed because of the excitement and the expectations from COP28 were extremely high, and it might not have actually lived up to those expectations. Now, so that what that means is the COP29 becomes very important milestone, and it is happening in Azerbaijan, which again, if UAE being a desert venue was kind of symbolically important, I think Azerbaijan is also symbolically as well as regionally very important venue for the next COP as well. So a number of decisions which have not been undertaken in the last COP, they have to be taken in the next COP. I think there is going to be a microscopic view in terms of what progress loss and damage fund in its operationalization has done, and then again is going to be a very important kind of question there as well in terms of its capitalization strategy, its eligibility, the additionality and incremental mode of the funding, and a number of issues which are going to be addressed. So the next COP, COP29, is going to be equally important as COP28. So what it means is a country like us, Pakistan, has to start preparing for it well in advance, and this is a very good kind of initiative which COPAIR have taken. We are in January and we are actually talking about the COP29, and so this is a very good start. Give us incentive as well and motivate us, institutions like NDRMF as well, that we have to kind of buckle up and pull up our socks, and we have to start preparing and start collaborating and partnering with institutions like COPAIR and many other stakeholders. So I think this is a good start already. So we all should appreciate it, and we all should acknowledge that. NDRMF, we have a mandate. The mandate is related to disaster risk reduction, and the mandate is so wide, which basically kind of places us into the middle of almost everything which happens in the country, because our mandate is not only restricted to the climate-induced disasters, but it is actually open-ended. So while we are working with a very kind of a typical and classical kind of a measures in terms of flood protection and building the walls and watershed management, a number of other initiatives, at the same time we are also working and supporting the government on a new initiative for fiscal resilience and financial and economic resilience building as well, mostly with the civil society as well as with the private sector as well. And we're going to be strengthening ourselves in our collaboration and work during this year as well. So when we reach to Baku by the end of the year, we kind of feel ourselves a lot more prepared, a lot more empowered, and a lot more equipped